Okay, welcome back to a new Tides of Torment DLC video. Today I thought it would be a good little idea to kind of show you all the new factions around the map. Spoiler alert, there isn't many. As well as new starting positions, or the starting positions of the new lords, and a couple of reskins which are pretty cool, as well as updated old factions, as in certain factions have been replaced with the newer lords. So I expect a bit more diversity. Obviously, when actually playing through different campaigns, you may stumble across someone who was one lord before and is now another, which for confederation purposes and stuff like that could be pretty good to get them obviously pretty early game, or just better support when they're maybe supporting you in battle, because let's be honest, AI isn't great at it. So we'll start off with this one. This is going to be a quick little one before we cut to the main part of the video, because Aislinn is a little bit of a funny one, so I'm going to cover this first faction now and then jump on to the next one. So Aislinn, in the initial video showcasing Aislinn, he was up against some Dark Elves here. Now, you still do fight Dark Elves, but they summon in after taking over the province. Now, instead of Dark Elves, you actually fight against some Vampire Coast factions called the Dreadrock Privateers. So yeah, a really cool looking emblem, by the way. I love the emblem we've got here. And yeah, unfortunately, as you will find out in this video, the new factions are just punching bags for the new legendary factions. So yeah, the Dreadrock Privateers, led by Charlie Hodgeworth here, unfortunately will not see past turn 5. But still, you could peace out and leave him to just live his life in the Isles and go off and do your own thing, because hey, you don't need to be that much of a dickhead to kill him. But yeah, I just thought it's quite cool to have a look at the new factions, the new insignias and stuff like that, and see what they've changed around. So yeah, a nice decision there to add some more piratey boys, even if it is for 0.5% of your campaign. Now, that being said, let's jump over to another campaign where we'll have a look at Aislinn, because he's a little bit different when not playing as him. If you see my High Elf video, you might understand what I mean, but if not, strap in, because things get a little bit spooky. Not spooky, other way around. Just strange. Let's get into it. Okay, so here we go, loading into a Throg campaign here. So Aislinn, as we just saw a minute ago, normally spawns up against a Vampire Coast faction. But when you're not playing as him, he spawns over, obviously, where he normally would. He does have access to the Tower of Sun on turn 1, may I add, as well as all his sea lanes. And then the other two provinces are owned by another High Elf faction called the United Maritime Patrol, which is, I think, pretty interesting in general, because that's not a faction which will normally spawn. Now, the lord of that is a Sea Helm lord, which spawns, unfortunately, all the way over here outside the map. Again, early access, things are a little bit janky. So he's a Sea Helm lord, which is really cool. He's a Mendel the Just, and yeah, he'll be leading that of a sub-faction of High Elves, but again, take into account, when playing as Aislinn, he doesn't spawn. Well, no, tell a lie, he does spawn. He still spawns over here, but he doesn't have the provinces of the settlements, obviously. Also, just behind him, again, early access, we've got Arak the Insane from Clonferric. Justice for Clonferric. I hope he'll come back at one point, but God, it's the Clonferric is over here. On top of that, a couple of other lords have been replaced by Sea Helm lords, which is quite cool. So when looking at High Elves over here, these High Elves down here, the Citadel of Dusk, has been replaced. He's still called Melwyn, but has been replaced by a Sea Helm Lord, which is cool. And then over here in the main Ulthuan, Kafik has also been replaced. Same name, but replaced by Sea Helm Lord. So I feel like it's nice to see that, obviously, the newer lords getting a little bit of love and getting introduced into some of the older factions as their main lords. It just adds a little bit more flavour to it. When it comes to Slannesh, unfortunately, Slannesh does not have any additional adjustments. They just spawn where they would normally spawn in the things we've seen so far. So we've got the Kala over here and the Mask over here. All the other generic Slannesh factions are still just the same, unfortunately. And that seems to be the case when it comes to the demonic factions. They don't change who runs them. There's no like blood speakers for Khorne or anything like that. They're all just still Khorne demons. So unfortunately, don't expect anything else from Slannesh. When it comes to Norsca, however, Norsca is by far the biggest change. So Norsca has received not only a new faction, minor faction, but a couple of additional starting position changes, especially for Wulfric, and a couple of rehashes for minor factions as well, which I'll show you now. So we'll just quickly cover Wulfric. So we're not playing as Wulfric. He spawns over just like he normally would, just outside of Trollfjord, and he'll play just as a normal faction. But when you do play as Wulfric, he spawns over by the Monument of the Moon with a province occupied or settlement occupied still over here. And then will allow you to obviously use his new mechanics and kind of traverse the world and do whatever he wants. So that's one cool thing. Unfortunately, when not playing as him, he spawns just the same. So if you're trying to find Wulfric as whoever, he still spawns here if you're not playing as him. With that being said, let's have a look at the other changes to Norscan. So there are a couple of factions which don't actually spawn in until you confederate them, so or vassalize them, or release them from obviously their current occupation. So I can't currently talk about all the different changes, but what I can, or potential changes, but what I can talk about is the ones which I know for a fact have changed. So this faction over here, again, I'm not big on the lore, so I don't actually know why. But this faction over here has been changed completely. So this used to be the USACs, and the USACs used to spawn over here, right? So the USACs are now over here, and they're called the Nurge, or the Naj, or the Nai, God knows. And the cool thing about them is they are actually ran by a shaman, and the new generic lord. So again, versatility, you're going to have a generic shaman lord, obviously playing as Tamakan straight off the get-go, which, yeah, beautiful, cool. And yeah, just a cool new faction as well, sort of thing, thrown in there. Same emblem, new faction, new generic lord. As we move back over here then, like I said, I can't really speak for the rest of the Norscan races, but the USACs have also been changed, again, weirdly. So the USACs are now still called the USACs, but with a new emblem, like a dual-crossed axe, which looks lovely jubbly. And they too are led by a shaman, which, yeah, cool. So you're going to have a little bit of versatility. A little bit of diversity is the word I'm actually trying to find, amongst obviously other lords. I've looked at these ones up here. There's a couple of factions which don't actually summon in or spawn in until you take over certain settlements, so I can't actually see them, and the same can be said over here. There could be a couple of shamans, but like mostly they are the same. Yeah, he's still the same. This boy, still the same. And him, still the same. Now the last faction, which is the new minor faction, which we can cover, is over here. And unfortunately, like I said with the Vampire Coast faction, they just act as a bit of a punching bag. So unfortunate, but it is what it is. So inside the new province up here with the Dark Tower, the Broken Mount, the Desolation Ridge, and Rotten Stone. So these are 4 new settlements inside one province called Mountain's End. Inside the settlement, this is where Sale obviously spawns, and the new faction, which is called Avag, which I believe is an old faction, but they've kind of brought them back. So yeah, Avag's now here with a new kind of banner, and they are led by Tar, a generic chieftain, just Marauder chieftain. And outside of that, that is all she wrote. Unfortunately, there's nothing else really to add. A couple of reskins, a couple of generic lords added here, there, and everywhere. And outside of that, I believe there's one new rogue army which can spawn, which is more Slannesh inspired. But you may never see that really in a campaign, or like you may never care for it in a campaign. So yeah, that is what it is. Outside of that, that's it. That's all we can really talk about and write home about. That's all the additions and changes to the factions around the map and additions to the campaign map. I'm hoping soon Immortal Empires Expanded will be updated so we can get back to playing the game properly. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this one, just giving you a little bit more further details about what's actually changed, some of the new factions, reskins and whatnot, and starting positions as well, just as an altogether throw-in. If you did enjoy the video, please do leave me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hopefully will join you tomorrow for our first live stream of Tides of Torment. See you later.